Sheryl Swoopes just she can't stop. She can't not try to light a fire involving Caitlin Clark. She can't just be good. Well, she's doing it again.
Following her firing, Sheryl Swoopes appeared on Gilbert Arenas' podcast wearing a Paige Bucker shirt. This well-considered fashion choice is a direct jab at Caitlin Clark, who couldn't wait to make a statement following her WNBA firing before disparaging Clark. The T-shirt, which prominently features Clark's biggest collegiate rival, makes a clear visual statement during the viral podcast moment. What seems like harmless sportswear actually represents the most passive-aggressive move in women's basketball at the moment.
Let me blow the shirt up first. Right here. There we go. Look at her. She just stays mad. Hey, what are you doing? Look at this. Just stays mad. Were y'all talking about Caitlin Clark at this very moment?
Since her undergraduate days, Swoopes has been disparaging Clark and even questioned the validity of his records, which she was violating. Swoopes knew exactly what she was doing.
This isn't just for Caitlin, but you asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that player set it.
The timing makes this clear. After losing her job, she makes it clear where her allegiance lies, and it's most definitely not with the Iowa sensation who is revolutionizing women's basketball. The old guard in women's basketball is shaking because Clark's explosive rise has fundamentally changed the WNBA landscape, breaking attendance records and sending viewership skyrocketing. Swoopes, who was once the face of women's basketball, seems to be holding on to that torch as if her life depended on it, rather than embracing how Clark is elevating the sport as a whole.
At this point, considering the lengths Sheryl Swoopes has gone to deceive the truth, it feels like she just flat out despises Caitlin Clark, Clark's game, or is woefully misinformed.
Caitlin Clark did not achieve her current status by making political statements or engaging in social media antics. The girl's unquestionable talent is drawing in people who had never seen women's basketball before because she just gives it her all every time she takes the court. Her logo threes, no-look passes, and court vision speak for themselves.
Taken out of context, this is a campaign. A steady drip of comments, criticisms, and calculated digs aimed at dimming the spotlight Clark has undeniably earned.
She was remarkable on top of the fact that she had to deal with so much hate when she got to the WNBA.
I can't imagine this young lady, I don't want to use hate, but despised. And people just having, she brought some on herself a little bit because she's cocky for a good reason.
Confident.
And I love that about her. But to watch the dynamics and the media, they had their narrative. And I was pleased and proud to see the narrative wasn't the truth.
Swoopes could have worn anything to that podcast, her own merchandise, a WNBA shirt, or anything else. But she purposefully chose Beckers, the player who is frequently compared to Clark, to convey a message without speaking a word. Much like a seasoned chess player giving up a piece to hold onto position. This is what makes this T-shirt situation telling in terms of the generational conflict.
You're playing the role of someone who is attempting to tear down greatness, marginalize greatness, even if it comes at the expense of your own legacy, just because you don't want to admit that you were wrong.
It's an unwritten rule that veterans frequently feel entitled to decide who gets to be the face of the game next. So why does a legend like Swoopes feel threatened by a rookie? Is it because Clark doesn't play by the rules while others might feel pressured to conform to certain expectations off the court? Clark keeps her focus solely on basketball, without political statements or controversy, just pure skill, and that seems to bother Swoopes more than anything else. However, Clark didn't wait for approval to become a superstar. She burst onto the scene, smashed records, and introduced women's basketball to a whole new level of attention. Pay your dues and follow their path, and ultimately they'll transmit the torch.
While Caitlin is fantastic, and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA,
who's going to be the next face of the NBA? We don't get to decide that. The marketplace decides that. The people have chosen Caitlin Clark.
What is she doing wrong? What more do you want from Caitlin Clark? Seriously, what more do you want from her? She's focusing on the game. She lifted her team up, got them to the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year, and then also is denouncing racial tensions when she's asked about it. I'm sorry, I don't see anything more that Caitlin Clark should have done or could have done.
Swoopes had choices. She had the opportunity to use her position to bridge the generational divide, but instead, she opted to continue a one-sided rivalry that made her appear insignificant in comparison to Clark's rising prominence in the game.
You come out here and just hate for the sake of hating.
Yeah.
If you don't, just shut the fuck up, Sheryl Swoopes. How about that? Caitlin Clark is nice. Like, what are you doing?
Since Swoopes' criticism of Clark during her college years at Iowa started a pattern that raised eyebrows throughout the basketball community, the politics surrounding her didn't just surface overnight. Sports networks rarely bench commentators for bias during broadcasts, but that's exactly what happened with Swoopes while Clark was making history at Iowa. Even before Clark ever wore a WNBA jersey, Swoopes was doubting her legitimacy and undermining her entire ascent to fame. Once Clark joined the league, Swoopes kept doubting whether she was actually dominating at the next level because she wasn't giving constructive criticism.
To me, what Caitlin's been able to do in a short period of time has been very impressive. Because I know people are like, oh my God, you said she wouldn't be good. But I didn't say she wouldn't be good. What I said was I didn't think Caitlin or Angel would come into the league and dominate immediately, which I don't think either of them did.
Respectfully, there is absolutely no way, even when we're trying to sit here and play semantics about dominating, there's no way that anyone could ever leave this season in saying that both Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese didn't dominate. You would have to further explain what dominance means for you to not sit here and say that a player who is leading the league in assists while averaging 19 to 20 points didn't dominate that season.
However, the networks recognized this bias when production staff actually cut down on Swoopes' commentary time during Clark's games, which is a noteworthy development in a field where controversy usually increases viewership. Television producers determined that Swoopes' opinions were so unfavorable that they couldn't risk airing her during Clark's most important moments. This delves into territory that implies something more profound was at work, going beyond standard analysis or harsh condemnation.
Because we found out yesterday, it looks like she's been removed from a podcast which had WNBA branding on it. We saw her get replaced during the Fever game for the Dallas Wings commentary team last year because of words and the hate she had towards Caitlin Clark. And it was just one thing after another.
When Stephen A. Smith, a man whose career is based on daring, controversial statements, publicly stepped in when he believed that criticism had gone too far and that a serious boundary had been crossed. He called out Swoopes for her unrelenting negativity toward Clark, essentially identifying the vendetta that had become impossible to ignore. This marked the tipping point in the situation.
Don't mention them. Ain't nobody said don't applaud them. Nobody told you to ignore them. What we're saying is if you're going to give the Indiana Fever all the credit in the world, how you going to mention the Indiana Fever without Caitlin Clark's name even coming up? So then after that, Sheryl Swoopes engages in levels of immaturity. There's no way to slice it. I'm not going to insult this champion, this great basketball mind, this phenomenally accomplished Hall of Famer. I'm not going to insult her. All I'm going to say is it was pretty damn immature to come back at me like that.
From Clark's time at college, Swoopes promoted the idea that Clark was just media hype rather than real skill. She questioned Clark's deservingness of attention while, however, increasing her visibility through these same criticisms, a dichotomy that fans soon recognized.
Hating is the most publicity she's gotten in decades. That's part of it too. All right, Sheryl Swoopes has in part turned this into a publicity. It's turned into a publicity stunt for her.
The underlying truth is more shocking. When Clark joined the league and started to establish rookie records for most points by a rookie guard and record-breaking double-doubles, it seemed as though he may alter the game's standards. It questioned the heritage of those who established women's basketball in past decades.
She knows if she acts like a hater, there's a certain section of the WNBA fandom that's going to gravitate towards her.
Every time Clark smashes another record, Swoopes' commentary exudes a noticeable uneasiness. It's like watching someone see their own legacy being rewritten in real time, which is a challenging process for anyone who was once the standard bearer for excellence in their area.
I mean, what is wrong with you here? I don't get it. I just wake up and be mad. Never forget, in Swoopes' MVP season, she averaged less points, assists, and rebounds than Caitlin Clark's rookie season. Caitlin Clark's rookie year was quite a bit better than Sheryl Swoopes' MVP season.
The difference between healthy skepticism and what Swoopes has demonstrated is evident when criticism gets so bad that employers restrict airtime analysis, which most tellingly takes the form of an agenda. What really disturbs the old guard is that Clark is altering the rules of engagement by playing at such a remarkable level that attention comes naturally without adhering to unwritten rules about rookie behavior. Swoopes' criticism hardly ever addresses Clark's actual gameplay, instead raising questions about whether she deserves her fame, attention, and position in the sport altogether.
Caitlin Clark is box office. She is a star.
Swoopes' choice to wear a Paige Boer shirt wasn't just a fashion statement, it was a calculated declaration. When you consider why a respected legend would specifically pick this moment to highlight one rookie while being interviewed about another, the message is obvious without actually saying it aloud. Nothing speaks louder than what someone chooses to wear when cameras are rolling.
However, right here, this is so funny to me. One thing she's going to do, rock the opposition. You know, CC and the CC fan base have a mansion up in that head.
When you look closely at the circumstance, you can see that Swoopes is sending a very particular message. I'm willing to back a white athlete, but not to the extent of raising a political flag in the midst of a storm. As soon as Clark started to dominate the news and conversation, Swoopes made her preference known in the most obvious way possible. The differences between these two incredible players go far beyond their shooting techniques or on-court presence. Her wardrobe choice makes a divisive statement that is impossible to miss. The timing tells the whole story. Buckers has made a point of being vocal about social concerns and politically active. She frequently discusses racial fairness during news conferences and utilizes her position to advocate for causes.
She's all up in all the social stuff, all right? Them L's, them G's, and them B's, and them Q's, and all that. And so that's why they're letting her in. That's why they're cool with her, all right? She's an activist basketball player. She bangs the drum, and that is why they have wrapped their... Look, hey, she's white. We love her. See, we're not really racist. Okay, but the girl from the Midwest, y'all just happen to hate her completely. Straight white girl. There, I said it out loud.